Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all of you to the EdTech Lounge on behalf of the Network of Quality Teaching and Learning. EdTech Lounge has been a community of practice for us throughout this year, where faculty members have presented their experiences, shared their use of online and blended teaching experiences. And we've had good conversations in the EdTech Lounge session. If you have not been to an EdTech Lounge before, then let me just tell you that our format is very simple. Our speaker will share their experience for about 15 to 20 minutes. And after that, we will open the session for question and answers or a discussion. While our speaker is sharing her experiences, I would request all of you to please keep your microphone on the mute. And if you have any questions or comments, type them in the chat window. We will discuss, we will look at your questions and comments at the end of the session. Today's speaker is my very dear colleague from IED Pakistan, Dr. Meher Rizvi. First of all, Dr. Meher Rizvi has been a very regular member of EdTech Lounge, so I'm very happy that she is presenting today and sharing her experiences today as a speaker. So thank you for that, Dr. Meher. Dr. Meher Rizvi holds the position of Assistant Professor of Education at the Institute for Educational Development, Karachi. During her 16 years at the IED, she has held many positions, key among them being the head of the graduate programs and coordinator MEd program. She is currently faculty chair and academic review committee chair. Dr. Meher is a proud recipient of Outstanding Teacher Award twice, first in 2008 and then in 2016. The award is presented on recommendation of students in recognition of outstanding teaching and academic pursuits. She is also a recipient of Australian Alumni Excellence Award 2015 for education presented by the Australian High Commissioner to Pakistan. She obtained prestigious international postgraduate research scholarship for doing her PhD from the Queensland University of Technology. She also has 2 masters to her credit with first class first position in both degrees. Dr. Rizvi has more than 25 years of teaching experience in a range of educational contexts, including primary schools, secondary schools, teacher education colleges, and national and international universities. She teaches courses on quantitative and qualitative research methods, curriculum, teaching and learning, school improvement, educational change, professional development of teachers, foundations of education, and philosophy of education. Her primary research interests include teacher professional development and teacher professionalism, curriculum studies, teaching and learning, educational reforms, and educational innovation, with particular reference to elementary education, educational leadership, and research methodologies. Dr. Rizvi has successfully supervised 2 students at the PhD level and more than 30 students at the master's level. Her students are working in key leadership positions such as directors, educational managers, and school principals. She's an active researcher with a number of publications in international journals and books. She's also a founding member of Pakistan Association for Research in Education, having served as its first executive secretary and treasurer. So it's my pleasure to have you, Dr. Meher Rizvi, present in today's EdTech Lounge, and so over to you.
Thank you so much, Azra, and hello, everyone. This is very, very flattering, actually, and I'm truly humbled and so happy that I am doing the last session of the year. Truly excited. I hope I do justice to the last session. What I have planned today is very, very close to my heart because it's something that I initiated 6 years ago. And today it has taken a very prominent stature. So let me just share my screen with you. So Professional Development of Teachers is a course that I offer at AKU IED. And I've been offering this course ever since MPhil started in 2000, about 5 years ago. And the course is part of MPhil program. The students in this course cover a number of themes, and one of the themes is facilitating teacher development. And this theme is actually has two. I usually follow a two-pronged strategy. So what I am aiming to achieve through this course is the professional development of the students who are enrolled in this course, as well as the professional development of the teachers that the enrolled students can facilitate. So today I'm very, very excited to present the 6 online workshops that the students of the Professional Development of Teachers of course planned and conducted for the school teachers. This year was different. In the past, we were doing face-to-face workshops. And so and as you would all know, because you've all transited from face-to-face to online, that it's not a joke. It requires a lot of planning, thinking to conduct an online session. And so when I approached students in July 2020, and I asked them if they would be interested in doing online workshops, because I wanted to continue the tradition of students conducting workshops for the students, for the other teachers, for their colleagues. They were a little bit scared, and obviously you were walking on a new pathway, and so you had to be nervous. But they were all very, very eager as well. And so they said that with help and with support, they should be able to do it. And so we embarked on a journey of planning online workshops for the school teachers in a very, very planned manner, which I will discuss along the way. But first, about the workshops that the students conducted. So the whole theme of the workshop was teaching and learning in the new normal, because everybody was so conscious of the fact that about the changes that the COVID-19 had brought. And so they somehow wanted to link their workshops with the new normal that was emerging. And so the first workshop that we conducted that the students planned was on creating your own contextual active learning strategies during COVID-19 and beyond. The second workshop that they decided to conduct was the implications of ELECT model for meaningful and practical reflection in teaching. And the third workshop was thinking out of the box in the 21st century, discovering own self. Each workshop was of 3 hours, comprising 15 to 18 participants. I was the silent observer, and during the workshops, I closely observed what was happening, because it is one of the tasks that the course participants, and I would call them students from now onwards, because I don't want them to be confused with the workshop participants. So the MPhil students, I will use the nomenclature of students. So the students and I worked day and night to plan these. However, during the workshop, I was a silent observer. And I'm going to share with you what I observed and what I found. And it is my absolute pleasure to present that to you, because what I found was very, very exciting. So the first thing that was there, and that was really powerful was the philosophy. So I could see that even when during the selection of the topics, these were not the topics that they selected at random. They had very carefully thought through the various ideas, and they had actually developed their frameworks of teacher development, teacher professional development. And they all were, they knew what they were trying to achieve. But obviously in 3 hours, you cannot achieve everything. So they selected a teeny tiny bit of their framework and they planned it very, very carefully. And their conceptualization and reconceptualization of the notion and ways of professional development in the light of local and global trends was very, very obvious to me. So that was something really powerful, that the students were enacting what they believed in. So if the group that did the workshop on active learning actually believed that active learning was important, and the grouping was of the like-minded students, and the group that did workshop on the elect model actually believed that reflection is very important in these times. And the third group also emerged, the idea and the topic emerged from their beliefs and their theoretical underpinnings. The other thing that I found really amazing was the passion. And the passion, it was a passion that kept them going. And you will be surprised to learn that one of the CPs actually discovered that she was COVID positive a day before the workshop. And so I advised to her to give her role to someone else and she should rest. But she came to me and said that she would do it herself from her room because she really wanted to. And that my hats off to her, because if you discover that you are COVID positive a day before the workshop, you become so nervous. But she was so confident and so passionate. She did it so passionately. And they worked late. Sometimes I would, check on, they would call me late in the night and say, we've discovered this idea, can we implement it in our workshops? And even after the final plans were approved and reviewed and, they had decided that this was what they wanted to do, I used to receive emails at 2 a.m., sometimes at 3 a.m., at 1 a.m. at night that I've had this brilliant idea. I'd like to implement that. And so they were very much into it in a very passionate manner. And that was so obvious. Even during the workshop, the way they were engaging with the participants and the way they were talking to them, trying to help them speak, trying to make sure that everybody is involved, demonstrated the passion. So the passion for learning was so obvious. The third thing that I noticed and that I was very, very, because I'm a curious person myself, and and something I really encouraged is the curiosity, the risk-taking. And I was very happy to see that they implemented new ideas. They took some risks with new technology, with new platforms, but they were, and some of them, sometimes, most of the times they were successful. There were some hiccups, but the fact that they took courage to implement new ideas and to be able to lead the new ideas successfully was a very powerful thing for me to learn about the students, because I was also, remember, I was doing the two-pronged thing. I had facilitated their professional development, and now they are facilitating other teachers. And so I was actually observing them from two perspectives. How are they doing it, as well as how they have learned themselves. So they've learned to be curious, and that's such a big achievement for a person like me. And so because it is because of their curiosity that the learning will remain, the questioning will remain. The other thing, and probably the most important thing, was the connection. And they tried to make these connections with the help of their personal life stories. In one of the workshops, Cinderella came alive when they retold the story of Cinderella in a very different manner. In another workshop, they had pre-recorded story with the music, silent, nice music being played at the background to motivate the participants and encourage them to take part uh, in the activities. They had also made sure that they, just in case the electricity problem occurs, they had WhatsApp formed WhatsApp groups with all the participants, and they were constantly in conversation with how they can, facilitate learning through WhatsApp grouping as well. So if anybody was having issues, they quickly communicated a message to the person, or even pasted the whole link at the WhatsApp group to make sure that there was connection. But most of all, and the most important thing was that I did not feel that the students were talking to a machine. I actually felt that they were all talking to human, as if it was happening there and then, right in front of me. So all that talk about getting bored because you're talking to a machine I did not see that happening in the workshops. And that was such a big achievement. And because due to the smiles, the way they talked, I'm going to share with you one episode which will just demonstrate what I'm talking about. Now, why? What was oozing out of the workshop, and I purposely selected this slide because I wanted to show the oozing out of the creativity. So there was the elect model, which was very nicely enacted with each dimension explained with the help of stories, with practical examples, and then the participants were given opportunities to actually retell their own stories. There was Padlet wall, very creatively used, Coggle, and so they experimented with different technological tools. The creativity was not only in the planning, the concept, the content, the way it was being delivered, but creativity also with the different technological tools to keep the participants engaged. And so you can see a picture of the new normal that they actually showed to the participants and said, so this is the new normal. How do we do activity-based teaching in such a new normal? So what do we do? And the participants came up with different ideas. They also used Linoet, Penzu. They tried Penzu for the first time. I think it was a very courageous thing to do because it's a difficult journal to maintain. And then quizzes, Mentimeter. So a lot of things happening in a very, I would say, a professional manner for the first timers who were using it for the first time. So how did all of this come about? It was the result of rigorous planning. So there were regular meetings between me and the participants for a very long time. And there was also protected time in the schedule. So the schedule of the professional development course, we made sure that there was at least half an hour every day to talk about the workshops from the beginning. But closer to the time, we started spending more time. And so we started doing a lot of structured practices. And at one time, I remember we started practicing at 3 p.m. and continued to practice till 9 p.m. But we did not mind and nobody felt tired. That was amazing because it was a lot of learning going on and a lot of involvement. And then we also had expert advice, and this was the request that came from the students themselves, that they wanted somebody to share with them how an online workshop can be conducted. And so we invited our own very dear Azra to Ms. Azra Naseem to come and do a session for the students on planning and developing, and that was so helpful. The 4 things that Azra informed them about, addressing the individual needs, the technology, the context, they kept those in mind when they planned the workshops. And so, and I cannot tell you how helpful the session was. And so I would advise that you have these sessions, these interactions with the students even before they start doing something. And then systematic incorporation of feedback. And so the feedback that the expert gave, the feedback that I gave, the feedback that they received from each other, it was incorporated and then practiced again, and then the feedback was so the entire cycle of regular meetings, giving them time to be able to practice, giving them time to be able to meet, giving them time to think, giving them space to try out new ideas. Okay, so probably the last but the most important was the courage that I noticed, because there were challenges. I've been praising the work done, but it was not without challenge. There were many, many challenges, and I'd like to highlight some of them. But there was courage in respecting diversity. In the face-to-face workshops last year, we had a group of students from visually impaired schools. So this time when we started planning online, we thought about whether we didn't want to exclude them, because they were so eager and they participated so eagerly last time, and they'd written to me and said, when would your workshops begin? We would like to attend them. So we wanted to involve them as well. And when I talked to the students, they said, why not? I mean, it was courageous. And so I respect their courage in respecting the diversity. We had teachers from private schools, from government schools, from higher secondary schools, from primary, elementary, ECE, from mainstream institutions, and from special institutions, all in one workshop. So the grouping was carefully, so the groups were very, very carefully developed, because there were breakout rooms activities as well. And they did not exclude the visually impaired in one group. They spread them in different groups. So that was also so courageous and so thoughtfully done. And everything that was written on the slides was actually read out, so that so that they do not feel that they are different. And that was so nicely done. There was care, understanding, and realistic pacing of the activities. But there were challenges. And the first challenge was the electricity and the internet issues. And so the students decided that they would work from different stations and with different internet providers, so that they could, if one person goes, the other remains. And in every breakout room, there were at least 2 students to facilitate the learning of the teachers. A couple of participants came, but they refused to take part in the activities. They said they would be there, they would listen, but they would not take part in the activities. And I observed that the students, our students, did not give up and continued to encourage them. Some of them did in the end, but some of them did not. A few participants did not return after the tea break. So they, halfway through the workshop, they used to give tea break, and some of them did not return. Some of them returned very late. And I noticed that the students did not become impatient. And they demonstrated a lot of wisdom in dealing with such cases. Did not tell them off, encouraged them, welcomed them, and actually repeated the instructions for them. Then a couple of participants preferred to have links shared with them on WhatsApp, especially the visually impaired. And they said, if you share the links, they were sharing the links in the chat, they were writing it on the slides and sharing in the chat, but they requested if they could be shared in the WhatsApp, it would be easier for them to access. And so their requests were also respected. There was a lot of organization. One person was looking after the chat, one person was looking after the registration, the other person was looking after the WhatsApp. And so the idea of doing it in a group was actually very useful, because they were all involved in this way. So, in order to summarize, I would say that the successful student-led online workshops require philosophy. They have to believe in what they are doing. They have to see the significance, the meaningfulness of the activities, and be able to link it to a broader context. There must be passion. There must be curiosity. There must be connection, creativity, planning, and courage. While I do understand as a teacher educator that deliverables are important, and there were deliverables, there were key deliverables. Meeting objectives is also important. And the entire planning and the definitions, it's the quality of the content is also important. But above and beyond that, I believe that unless and until these 7 ingredients are there, students or anybody cannot run a successful online workshop, because it's really, really tedious and requires a lot of planning. So what I'm going to now share with you is an episode from one of the sessions, which is it's about 6 minutes, but it's very, very interesting. And it actually tells you, it actually has everything: the connectivity, the curiosity, the passion, the philosophy. And you will see how a very difficult concept of discovering yourself has been delivered in a very engaging and a simple manner. So let's listen to it together. I am going to just share computer sound so that people can listen to it.
Thanks, Nabila. Dear participants, you are in your roller coaster ride, and slowly and gradually you are going up. So after learning about how creativity works, let's move to the third part of our workshop, which is about self-discovery. We have placed here an image of magnifying glass with prominent me among so many others, and a pencil. Your task is to discover connectivity of this picture with your own life. But before that, we are sharing a beautiful story that might help you to find some connections. So are you ready? Yes or no?
Yes, we
Okay,
are. A big
great, great.
yes.
A big yes. Okay, let's move on. There was a vegetable vendor who kept a board with the words fresh vegetables sold here to attract people so that they buy his vegetables. A man came up to him and said, simply by seeing we can tell that your vegetables are fresh. So why do you need to advertise them as fresh? Rub off the word fresh. The vendor did so, leaving behind the words vegetables sold here on the board. Another man came and said, we know you are selling vegetables, not fruits. Why don't you write off the word vegetables? The vendor complied. Now two words were left. Sold here. After a while, an elderly lady approached him and said, sitting in the market, you are not giving your veggies for free, are you? Take off the word sold. The vendor removed and the whiteboard had only one word left. Here. Meanwhile, a schoolboy was passing by, teased the vendor by saying, everyone in the world knows you sitting here and not there. Why you have written here? The vegetable seller erased the last word, making the whiteboard clean and empty. Another person came and said, only a stupid man would keep such a nice whiteboard empty. Why don't you write something here to advertise your vegetables? See, everybody around us has an opinion to make. Everybody has a suggestion to offer, and most often with best intentions. But if we ends up listening to what everybody else has to say, we may forget to do what we are inspired to do. The question is, how do we able to find and then create our new version? It needs some seeds of thoughts, some sunlight of wisdom, and some water of reflection, and few moments of pause and silence. So, have you made some connections of this picture with your life? Can anybody share?
You can raise hand and please unmute yourself to say something, please.
Yes, we want to hear. What
The raise
magnifying
of
glass is for you?
Sabha is saying something in the chat window.
Yes.
He should say
Now
them. My life, my rules.
Okay.
That's wonderful, Sabha.
What else? Why so many others? And why magnifying glass? And why pencil? We need to think about it. Who can tell us?
Who's going to unmute and who is going to tell us? Yes, sure,
Yes,
Amna,
Anna.
you can.
Hi, so yes, there are multiple instances in my life where I have heard a lot of comments or maybe feedback from people, how I can improve something, and it turns out sometimes their suggestions are not relevant to my context. So I think feedback or suggestions that people are offering we should consider whether they are relevant in our context or situation. I always welcome feedback, and I always welcome suggestions and how I can improve myself. But before accepting that, I first analyze and think whether their suggestion or feedback is important to me and will it work in my context. This way, I feel I can satisfy myself. Thank you.
Great insights, Amna. We really need to reflect on it. Though feedback is very
Okay,
important.
so I think with this I stop, and there are other things that I can share later on, but that is all from me, and I open the forum for discussion. Thank you so much for listening to me and for giving me time. Before I end, one more thing, because it's the last session, I really want to, especially thank the EdTech Lounge team, the BDL team, the Quality Network team for arranging these sessions and for giving us the opportunity to discuss ideas, to present our ideas, to present our learning in a very, very non-threatening manner. And I hope they'll continue in the next year, because I have benefited a lot from them, and I see value in others being able to, find a space where they can speak their mind like I've spoken my mind in a very, non-threatening, friendly, cooperative manner. So thank you so much, BDL and Quality Network, for giving us this platform.